21 minutes though. Seems to be 21, some sort of symbol. But there's the 2 lines. Oh, actually there's 4. It's probably 21. No, I'm just kidding. Pictures. Oh.
Dear Esther, I find each step harder and heavier. I drag Donnelly's corpse on my back across these rocks, and all I hear are his whispers of guilt, his reminders, his burnt letters, his neatly folded clothes. He tells me I was not drunk at all.
Oh. 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 If I caught that right. Ugh. It sounds like he was the one who killed Esther. He was drunk. Or something. That's sad. That's sad. That's sad. Those pictures was of the car accident, I would assume. So it sounds like he killed Esther, which Esther is his lover. And, the guilt of that, wow, the sorrow of that, it's just, that'd be unbearable. That'd be really unbearable. Seems like that's a picture of her. What have we got in here? What is this? Oh. Pieces of the car. Man, this kind of reminds me of Lost, you know, like how they all get sent to an island and, well, I guess they crashed a plane on the island. This guy,
There were chemical diagrams on the mug he gave me copying, sticky at the handle where his hands shook. He worked for a pharmaceutical company with an office based on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. He'd been travelling back from a sales conference in Exeter, forming a strategic vision for the peddling of antacid yogurt to the European market. You could trace the connections with your finger, join the dots, and whole new compounds would be summoned into activity.
that's what the pain is. Those are chemical compounds. Light from heaven shone around him. Light from heaven shone around him. So that explains what the markings are about. Chemical compounds, but why? What's the point of them in this? What do they have to do with anything?
From here, I can see my armada. I collected all the letters I'd ever meant to send to you, if I'd have ever made it to the mainland, but had instead collected at the bottom of my rucksack, and I spread them out along the lost beach. Then I took each and every one, and I folded them into boats. I folded you into the creases, and then, as the sun was setting, I set the fleet to sail. Shattered into 21 pieces, I consigned you to the Atlantic, and I sat here until I'd watched all of you sink.
So these little boats, those are all the letters he wrote, but didn't send, or wasn't able to send. Did he write 21 letters? Is that what the 21 means? There's 21 letters he wasn't able to send, or is oh, don't, you're not gonna let me back up? Let me back up, come on. Probably have to go over here. Where's the moon at? Gone? Over there? Uh-oh. What? On a sudden, light from heaven shone around him, and he fell to the ground. What's up with the bird eggs? This game is very deep, very deep. There's the moon.
When Paul keeled over dead on the road to Damascus, they resuscitated him by hitting him in the chest with stones gathered by the roadside. He was lifeless
21.
for 21 minutes, certainly long enough for the oxygen levels in his brain to have decreased and caused hallucinations and delusions of transcendence. I'm running out of painkillers, and the moon has become almost unbearably bright.
Speaking of Transcendence, if you guys have not read that fanfic, I would recommend to do so. It's sad. Actually, I haven't read the whole thing through yet. I've only read like a chapter. But I'm working on it. It's on my to-do list. Along with a million other stories that I'm never going to read.
I've begun my voyage in a paper boat without a bottom. I will fly to the moon in it. I've been folded along a crease in time, a weakness in the sheet of life. Now you've settled on the opposite side of the paper to me. I can see your traces in the ink that soaks through the fiber, the pulped vegetation. When we become waterlogged and the cage disintegrates, we will intermingle. When this paper aeroplane leaves the cliff edge and carves parallel vapor trails in the dark, we will come together.
Beautiful. And he was proceeding on his journey. Okay, so obviously, this is a story about Paul in the Bible. When he accepted Christ, a light shone down upon him, and he proceeded with his journey. Paul, he was a mocker of Christ. He was a very evil man, very against it. And then, if I remember correctly, I hope I'm not mixing this up, but he became blind for 3 days, and then that's how he accepted Christ. Light shone upon him, and he set off on some missionary journeys. It's coming near. I can't read that.
If only Donnelly had experienced this, he would have realized he was his own shoreline, as am I. Just as I am becoming this island, so he became his syphilis. retreating into the burning synapses, the stones, the infection.
He was seen 3 days without sight. Oh yeah, yep, he was blind. See, yep, I was right. Yep, he went 3 days without sight. Paul did. Yep, okay. Looks like I'm catching on the story here. And neither did he eat or drink. Guarantee it. No drink, yep. Okay, so I'm not sure where chemical compounds come into play, though. I still don't understand that. Sad music. Let's go up here.
Returning to my car afterwards, hands still shaking, and a head split open by the impact. Goodbye to tearful aunts and traumatized uncles. Goodbye to the phenomenal. Goodbye to the tangible. Goodbye Wolverhampton. Goodbye Sanford. Goodbye Cromer. Goodbye Damascus. This cliff path is slippery in the dew. It is hard to climb with such an infection. I must carve out the bad flesh and sling it from the aerial. I must become infused with the very air.
That sight. I know this totally ruined the mood, but I totally thought, what if Santa Claus went past that moon? That would be awesome. But it would also ruin the mood just like I just did. Okay, back on track. And it came to pass